Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Foreigner brings classic rock to Baltimore's MECU Pavilion on Saturday night. I spoke with bass player Jeff Pilsen about the band's biggest hits, from Cold as Ice to Jukebox Hero to I Wanna Know What Love Is. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP.
Well, thank you. Great to be here.
Where does this fall on the COVID run here? It's been a crazy, 18 months or something here for everybody in this industry. But when did you guys start getting back out there?
We started playing at the end of May. So we've been, off and on since the end of May. So where does that come in the timeline? Good question. Now you're requiring brain cell material.
Right.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there.
No worries. But if our listeners turn out to see this, Foreigner has so many hits. Are they going to hear all the hits from yesteryear, or is there any new stuff you guys are adding in, or what can we expect like set list?
The thing about Foreigner is we have 16 top 30 songs. So doing our set list is like cheating because we have so many songs that the audience knows. So yeah, you're going to know just about every song on that set list. And that's one of the comments we get most often is like, wow, I forgot how many Foreigner songs I knew. And that is, like I say, that's a very common thing. We have a lot of popular songs, and it's great, and it makes for a fabulous evening.
Awesome. Well, I can imagine. Well, I want to get into some of those songs in a minute, but first, if you can, take me back to, I know you joined the band in 2014 or something, but I'm sure you've heard this. What was it? 2004? 2004. Oh, you've been there for a while now, almost 20 years. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard the story just through the other guys, but remind our listeners how the band originally formed. Was it in New York City, like in the mid 70s?
It was in New York City it formed in 1976. Basically, Mick Jones was living in New York, and Mick Jones, of course, is the leader and founder of the band. So he was in New York. He met up with Ian MacDonald, who was a fellow Brit, but also living in New York. Ian had been in the band King Crimson. He was an integral part of that band, and Mick and he had a concept that they decided to follow through with. They found another Brit in drummer Dennis Elliott, and then they joined up with three Americans, with Lou Gramm, Al Greenwood, and Ed Gagliardi, all being American. So hence the name Foreigner, because they were from two different countries. Wherever they went, somebody in the band was a foreigner. That was mid 70s. They got together. The chemistry was immediate, and the success of the band was practically overnight, and immediate as well. So it got off to a great start. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no kidding. You're saying that, the success was pretty immediate and overnight. And that's true, because their first album, that self-titled one, Foreigner, in, I think, 1977, well, it doesn't get much bigger than that for a first album out of the gate. Tell me about, obviously they had a couple big hits, but I want to take them one at a time. But feels like the first time, hey, a great first breakthrough song, feels like the first time. But talk about why you think that song, why do you think that works so well?
Listen, it's a great song, and it's still holds up. My personal opinion, even before I was in Foreigner, is that was always one of the greatest first singles ever from a rock band, because it's so powerful. It's not only a great message, but it's just an instantly memorable and lovable chorus. Who doesn't want to sing that song? And who doesn't relate to that song? So, just still to this day, I still get goosebumps every time we get into that first chorus of that song. It feels like the first time. That always gets me off. So, yeah, the power of that song will live on.
Oh, absolutely. It's so singable. The audience will be singing it with you. And then that same album also had Cold as Ice. Man, talk about that. That was, one of those, it's a great song in terms of I feel like you could be walking down the street nowadays, and no matter who they are, what age they are, if you walk up to someone and say, you're as cold as I guarantee they'll say, willing to sacrifice. It's it's so ubiquitous, but why do you think that one worked?
Again, just great melody, great. It's catchy in so many ways. That piano intro right there, as soon as we go blank, 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 people start People know the song right away. When you can identify a song from a couple of piano notes, you know you're off to a good start. And it is once again great melody, great recording. It was a timeless recording that still sounds amazing today. And you know, Mick and Lou, Mick in particular is just a gifted songwriter. And Mick and Lou together were just a powerhouse songwriting team. And they wrote classics. And let's face it, it all boils down to the material, the strength of the material, and the material is A plus.
A plus plus plus. I love that you mentioned that and actually sang, because that's gonna be a good soundbite for me. Thank you, sir. Of the opening piano. But you know what? Well, every time I hear that, I mean, maybe just because what the title of the song is, it almost reminds me of like maybe like freezing rain hitting and becoming cold as ice. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know. I always have that visual in my head, but it's a great song. All right, and then the second album, aptly titled Double Vision, for a second album, pretty cool there. Talk about that title song, that Feel My Eyes. I mean, it's kind of hypnotic in a way.
Yeah. Well, the funny is that song was inspired by Mick and Lou had gone to see a New York hockey game, and somebody got hit with a puck, I believe, and the announcer said, "Oh, it looks like he might have double vision." And Mick and Lou kind of looked at each other like, "Good song title." So they left the game, wrote the song, boom, there you have it.
Great story. Now, a different kind of cold as ice. You're at the hockey rink.
Yeah.
Well, wait, what was it? You said New York. What was it? Rangers, Islanders? What do you remember?
No, I think it was Rangers. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah,
not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure.
I'll look it up, but that's a great story. And then, of course, that Double Vision album also had Hot Blooded, which is one of your guys' coolest, let's say like more of upbeat tune. But yeah, any stories about the recording that's been passed down to you over the years?
On Hot Blooded, no stories about the recording really, other than
or just why you think it works so well,
Well, I mean, once again, who can't sing it, and who, again, blam 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 blam, you know what song that is right away.
Yeah.
It's just great writing. Those guys made great records with great songs, and that is what stands the test of time.
For sure, but the band wasn't done yet. That third album, Head Games, I mean, it featured Dirty White Boy, but the one I want you to tell me about is the title one, Head Games. I mean, again, an eminently catchy, that you hear that once that chorus hits, it will play Head Games. It will be stuck in your head.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, again, just great writing. I mean, you notice there's a theme here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people all relate to, things that turn into head games. I mean, I think we all relate to that. And it's just a great relatable message on a very powerful, great rock song.
Absolutely. And then the fourth album, I love that they called it 4. I mean, I always thought that was kind of cool when it would be like, Led Zeppelin 4 or Chicago 18. I love when it's just the number, but for you, it was just called 4. Tell me about Urgent. I mean, that one is, I guess, feel like what do you call it? The beat, or I guess the melody of that is very catchy.
Right. Well, I know that one, Mick wrote that one, and it was basically Mutt Lange, who was a huge producer at the time and was producing the Foreigner 4 record. He asked Mick, he said, "Give me tapes of all your stuff, just everything." And so Mutt was going through it, and there was a tape where Mick was just playing different ideas, and in there was that intro to Urgent, and Mutt said, "That's great. Need to make a song out of that." So he did, and he thought, well, what does this sound like? I guess it was urgent that he had to write the song. So there you go. Gave him his title, gave him his song, and off and running.
Thanks so much for humming these. This is gold. Like, I feel like you guys could just leave the instruments at home and you could get on stage and just.
Yes.
I love it. Well, that same album 4, also, in addition to Urgent, he also had, which might be arguably one of my favorites, it makes you smile when you see the title, is Jukebox Hero and the Stars in His Eyes. Talk about that, and that refrain of one guitar. Why do you think that's such an anthem? Is it just sort of that sort of idea of, I don't know, Bad Company, Shooting Star, Alan Jackson, Chasing That Neon Rainbow? It's that concept of like, so he's gonna make it one day, right?
That's exactly what it is. It's it was inspired by a true story. They were Mick and the band were pulling up to a gig. I believe it was in Cincinnati. We've tried to kind of research this over the years. They think it was Cincinnati. It was raining. A fan was standing by the backstage door in the rain and couldn't, and when the band was walking in, they said, "Well, what's up, man?" And he said, "Well, I can't get into the show." So Mick invited him in and let him watch the show from the side of the stage. And it kind of inspired the song, and it was a great thing.
It's just such a great one. One guitar can change the world.
Well,
And then
I hate
one.
to end this, but I
Go
have
ahead.
another call coming in 1 minute, so I'm
Oh
gonna
my
have to.
gosh. Can you really quickly, Waiting for a Girl Like You, and I Want to Know What Love Is, talk about how the band sort of pivot into sort of like more ballads real quick.
Sure. Well, Waiting for a Girl Like You was a very magical song. Apparently on the vocal take, um, Lou went in to sing it, and it's very most of what you hear on the finished vocal was his first take of just going in there, because what happened was he started to sing, and apparently a girl wandered into the control room while he was singing this song and just stood there, and apparently she was quite striking. And so he kind of sang the song to her. By the end of the song, she had left the control room. Nobody ever knew who she was, where she came from, or what was the deal, why she was there. But she inspired, one of the greatest vocal performances ever.
Absolutely.
And there you go. As far as I Want to Know, I know that it was a song that Mick had. He wrote it, I believe, one morning. He had this drum machine, and he started playing around, and the beat at the beginning he kind of set up in the drum machine, and he just started playing, and all of a sudden the whole thing kind of came to him, and he ran in and told his wife at the time, who's still his wife actually, Anne, and he told her, I wrote this song. It's called "I Want to Know What Love Is," and she goes, "Well, you should know the answer to that."
Classic.
Anyways, Jason, I sure appreciate this, man. It's been great, and I thank you so much, and we will talk again very, very soon.
Absolutely. Everyone check out Foreigner this Saturday, MECU Pavilion, Baltimore. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.